Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Horse Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
Well, the news is kind of obvious, right? They just announced yesterday The Mandalorian and Grogu, directed by Jon Favreau, produced by Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy. No writer was announced, but we can kind of assume it's going to be Favreau.
I think this is season 4, which he said he already wrote.
Isn't season 4. Which I thought it was going to be season 4 too, because there was a rumor going around a while ago that season 4 got turned into a movie.
Yep.
Which is what we heard. But Deadline reported that at present a 4th season is also in development, in addition to the movie. I mean, that could be subject to change, but Deadline says that it's there's two separate things.
Well,
Mando season 4 will still come to Disney+. Mando and Grogu movie will go to the big screen.
So season 4 of The Mandalorian is not going to be Mando and Grogu or Din Djarin and Grogu.
We don't know. There's no idea.
Doesn't feel like it would be, right?
It all depends on when things come out, I guess.
Unless they're, and I kind of theorized a little bit about this on my video about all this, unless they're maybe being done in conjunction.
Could be.
In a way. Like, could season 4 of Mando lead into the movie? Which then you have the problem of, I need to watch 4 seasons of The Mandalorian to understand the movie?
People might need to watch 4 seasons of Mandalorian to understand the movie anyway.
Well, that's a problem, isn't it? You shouldn't, hey, I'm all for, as someone who is going to
This is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. syndrome.
Sort of, yeah. But I mean, I'm all for it. Go ahead, make it all as intricate as you want, in relation to the series. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are not going to like that. They're not going to understand it either.
Exactly. I mean, it is interesting that this is going to be the first Star Wars movie that's going to move into production since the end of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, officially, I think. I think this one's pretty much like in stone, right? Because the Rey one is supposed to go into production early this year too.
Yes, but this is actually going to come out first. This is supposed to be the first one coming.
Okay.
Because Mando is coming out before the Rey movie.
Well, I like that a lot of the assumptions I made yesterday when I immediately rushed to make the video, which I probably should have tried to take a breath, but I knew I was going to make a second one with you and you were going to go dig deeper. So I gave my kind of reactions. Glad a lot of the things I assumed are turning out to be right.
But this does not mean that Charmine's movie's getting delayed.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe they just... Part of me wonders...
They made mention of it in the announcement, didn't they?
I believe so, yes.
The official Lucasfilm press release makes mention of her film?
It does. It says, that this is on the slate with other ones,
Yep.
just specifically mentioning which directors are doing stuff.
Along with the Filoni movie, not to be confused. These are not one and the same. This isn't like Filoni losing his movie
also
to Favreau.
Referenced the Dawn of the Jedi movie, the Mangold movie.
Which I'm very skeptical of, but we'll see. Mm-hmm. Only because of Mangold's failure with Indiana Jones.
Do you think this is because they wanted the Star Wars community to talk about something other than what Charmine said?
Yes.
Okay. That was my guess when, why would you put this article out now? Because they needed to put something out now.
They needed some positivity. Because here was the big problem. There was you haven't announced what's the next show. Mm-hmm. So no one's talking about that. We're all kind of holding our breath, waiting for that announcement. And then you really had nothing to talk about. And then all of a sudden, Charmine, whether that was a design... It seemed like it was a designed announcement of something that had been announced 8 months ago, because CNN had this big thing where she comes on and says what she says about being the first woman to lead Star Wars or whatever. Let's not get into that again. And then you're having people digging up some of these old comments, which make it sound pretty bad, even though they were not in relation to her movie. I want to make that clear. Mm-hmm. And so you just had a ton of bad press, right? So what do? Hey, let's talk about Mando and Grogu. Let's talk about Grogu.
Mando.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that.
Look, it's Mando.
Yeah, so I think this is not a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. The article that they announced this in was, brief, too.
Because it's not because it was here, Vanity Fair, help us. Pretend this was a planned announcement we had with you.
Yeah, there's 2 quotes from the whole thing that are... Yeah, there's a Favreau saying, I have loved telling stories. In the rich world that George Lucas created, the prospect of bringing the Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu to the big screen is extremely exciting.
Yeah.
That could have been taken from any point.
Exactly.
It's such a generic, yeah.
Yes. Nothing against Favreau, but it's just a generic, of course you're going to say or believe something like that.
Mm-hmm. And Kathleen Kennedy went on the record to say, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have ushered into Star Wars 2 new and beloved characters, and this new story is a perfect fit for the big screen.
Okay.
It's so generic.
That's even more generic than what Favreau said.
You guys need to say something vanilla that just sounds good.
We're going to make a movie that's a good fit for a movie. Thanks, Kathleen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And then, like, to make matters worse, they, like, threw it at, the last line. They're like, oh, by the way, Ahsoka Season 2 is in production.
Yeah,
it's
that
starting.
felt like
it's working on it.
Yeah, it felt like a big afterthought, didn't it? Like
it did. It was kind of offensive in a way.
Well, I don't know about offensive. I know what you're implying, but it was more like, well, just add that too, right? Let's give them a lot to talk about. Even though we weren't ready to make either one of these announcements, we're making them.
Well, that also means that Star Wars Celebration, not this year, but next year should be jam-packed.
It should be.
We could be getting our first look at a couple of film trailers.
I think we get a teaser for
at least one of them, obviously. I mean, Mandalorian is supposed to be coming out that year, supposedly.
No, 2026. We still have 2.5 years. May of 2026 is the next one. I've been wrong. I've been saying like December 2026. I've been getting it backwards. There's one in May of 2026 is the current release, and then also in December of 2026.
But there's also a reserved film date of December 19th, 2025 that Disney's holding.
Disney? I mean, that could be this, but it's not. They've said when the Star Wars movies are supposed to be. So maybe that's a year and a half away. That is not, unless they're going to throw this thing together. Which...
if it's already written and they've already got the actors, then they can move with this a lot quicker than normal. If pre-production is
further and it's not going to be as big as maybe some Star Wars movies, it's possible to hit a year and a half, though.
It is.
Do you want to do that?
Probably not.
Do you want your first movie back to be rushed into the theaters? Wasn't that the problem in the first place?
Rush it. Print it. Get it out there.
Let's make a sequel trilogy. Get it in the theater
Fix the press.
Yeah.
They have to make us like Star Wars in the theater again before the Rey movie comes out.
I kind of speculated that too. Like, this is your kind of safest and best bet. You go with the two characters that, quote unquote, everybody has loved, and everybody, it's going to be great to see them in a movie before here's Rey.
But what kind of story are you going to be able to tell? How much backstory are you going to have to give? This is a movie. There are people who don't watch Disney Plus Disney.
What? No.
Those people, if you want them to come to see your movie, have to understand who these characters are, maybe a little bit of what they've been through.
I think they're banking on you having heard of Grogu, having seen his cuteness.
People have heard everyone's heard of Grogu, whether you know Star Wars or not, honestly.
So I think that they're hoping or banking a lot on that. Though you do make the point still stands that people need to understand what the movie is about or what's going on with these characters. You can't just have nothing.
How is this all going to tie into the current storyline? That's another big thing.
Well, that's the question. Where is it kind of a solo own kind of thing, or does it tie into the bigger Mando-verse picture?
Yeah, is Thrawn going to be in there for reasons?
Why not?
Is Ezra going to be in this show? Is Ahsoka coming back? Luke going to be in it?
Maybe Luke and Mando's big adventure.
I mean, where are they going to go? Is this going to be more of the self-contained, like you said? How much is this going to tie into the next Mando-verse movie, or is this trying to segue us into like a Mando trilogy? And the Ahsoka movie will somehow just, Dave Filoni's Mando-verse movie will just roll into this.
Who knows?
I have a feeling that part of this is a warm-up, because if Dave's going to be doing his own movie, having him help as a producer with Filoni, who's an experienced filmmaker...
Yeah, very experienced, yeah.
This experience would be invaluable.
Yeah, because this is even different than doing a live-action series. Now you're doing a movie. So I'm sure he's going to be...
We know Dave got to hang out a little bit at Rian Johnson's, but they're like, maybe find another filmmaker for him to watch.
Yeah, he needs somebody else to inspire him.
Let him watch Favreau. Favreau's done some good directing.
Favreau's done some great stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm very curious to see where this is going to go, what kind of story they're going to come up with that everyone in Star Wars can enjoy and understand.
Or they say screw it and embrace the Mando-verse.
Embrace it or else. The trailer just says, watch this on Disney+.
Yeah, that's the teaser. Is like, these are the things you need to watch to understand this movie. Go.
It just makes me wonder if Disney is making a mistake or not by tying too much of their series into the movies.
I mean, again, we don't know.
I mean, Marvel has kind of done that a little, but they've been, for the most part, separate.
Well, there are those who will claim that the Marvels was a failure because it relied too heavily on Disney Plus characters. Whether or not that's true,
Well, you are missing out if you don't know anything about Miss Marvel from her show. Yeah. And Monica Rambeau, her origins were in WandaVision. Just like if you watched the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange's movie, how much were you missing out if you didn't watch WandaVision?
Yep. That's a question. I don't know because I've seen it, so...
But at the same time, Marvel's been playing this game for years. I'm watching an Avengers movie, but I didn't watch some of the other hero movies, so how do I know this person?
That's true. I don't know. Sometimes
Marvel just expects that you're going to watch it, you're going to know it, you'll watch a YouTube video on it, you've heard of it. If you're a fan of their stuff, you probably know a little bit.
Sometimes people just go to a movie to enjoy it for what it is and don't really need to understand it entirely. I mean, it's supposed to be a spectacle to a degree. I mean, we all want substance too, but some people just go because they want to see a Star Wars movie, and just because they don't understand everything doesn't mean they can't enjoy it.
True.
So yeah. So big announcements. We've been kind of dry on news, and now here you go.
We kept hearing we're supposed to get some sort of announcement in December, and we didn't. We got one in January, but it might not have been timed the way they wanted.
I don't think it was. It feels clumsy. You would think this would be a bigger deal, right? I mean, the last 3 movies got announced at Celebration. You brought Daisy Ridley on stage.
Instead, Charlene says something that bothers a lot of Star Wars fans and already gets them talking about boycotting. And then, 2 days later, they're like, hey, everybody, guess what?
We're making another movie.
We're making a movie.
About Mando.
Everyone loves Mando. Don't talk about season 3.
Yeah. Shh. We don't mention that. But no, I don't think it's coincidence. I think this was done
to quell the masses.
Quell the flames and redirect.
Good luck with that.
Which has worked to a degree.
It'll work for a day or so.
Yeah, we'll see. But for now, that's all we got for this time. Now it is your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think about these announcements. Are you excited? Do you think this was a coincidence or maybe a redirect? Whatever the case may be, leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.